obviously, during segregation, we had some rights that were taken away from us, or we weren't allowed to have, but it forced us to be together and to work together and to build together. And that actually, at the end of the day, makes you stronger if you approach it with the right perspective. So I think that there's room now for a re-examination of everything that sort of has happened over the last 40 years, not because we're not respectful of what people accomplished at that time, not because they didn't make tremendous sacrifices, and not because there weren't some gains. But if you look at the measures of quality of life in the black community, there is very little evidence I've seen that black quality of life in 2018 is any better than it was 50 years ago. If you look at education, our kids are not better off educated. Even Malcolm Gladwell actually said this. He said integration did not help black kids in the educational system because they don't have black teachers anymore. If you look at economics, the wealth gap is not only not shrinking, it is growing. It is growing. Student loans, things like that are actually causing it to grow. Half of all black college graduates have defaulted on their student loan debt, which means bad credit, which means many of them are going to die in debt. If you die in debt, then you're not closing the wealth gap, right? So we think that a gap is going to close just because time passes, but it doesn't close if you're standing still or running backward.
We probably could both get depressed here if we started to talk about the amount of land that we had 50 and 70 years ago, and how that land is gone now. That's a huge gap of us, of our land base having diminished dramatically.
Yeah, we what it is that in our culture, our economic culture, which we're still working to shape that, right? It's because some of it's still slave culture, or this other, I don't know exactly what to call it, but there's very little conversation that we have with children coming up about the importance of ownership. Ownership. So in the Black Business School, we teach children. We tell that's the first people we want to teach. We have a business.
And when
school.
you say in the Black Business School, you're talking about this is your baby.
Yeah. The Black Business School is online, and we have 68,000 students. And one of the things we did was we created a business school for children. And what we tell the kids is we give them an acronym. We tell them to keep their poise. POISE. POISE stands for producer, owner, investor, saver, entrepreneur. And we tell them this is what you want to be, because the economic system can be compared to a horse and jockey scenario. You think about a horse race, a horse does all the work, the jockey gets all the credit, right? The horse does all the running, the jockey gets all the money. And in capitalism, unfortunately, in America, it's a horse and jockey. You think about if someone goes to rent an apartment, the renter is paying the mortgage for the landlord. So the landlord gets wealth, the renter just gets run down, right? You think about an employer-employee scenario, the employee is putting in the labor and getting some compensation that they use to maybe go pay rent, right? And the employer is the one who owns the business, builds the wealth, leaves